Welcome back to the Once You Know podcast. I'm your host, Amy Shaw. Today, I'm dipping into a really important topic that is a huge part of everyone's spiritual journey or everyone's awakening or everyone's remembering back to the original self. So we are in this beautiful expansion era. We're moving into the new earth. There are so many things happening, which is so beautiful. It is so amazing to see people remembering their own gifts, awakening to their own power, more people stepping into healing roles, more people remembering all of the gifts and all of the most important parts of our earth experience, which I deeply believe is living your fullest expression in your humanness. So I really want to dip into today a really important topic. As most of my clients know, and anyone that has done group work with me or facilitating work with me, spiritual hygiene is probably the most important pillar of doing work. I think with the expansion of the spiritual communities, which again, I'm so grateful for. I think it's so beautiful and I teach so many people. But what I know in my teachings is you have to be so discerning with your energy and the facilitators that you work with. It is never to judge anyone. It is never to throw shade on anyone. It is merely leaning into one of the most important topics of this big expansion that's starting to happen around us, around spirituality. So as we start to awaken, as we start to expand our fields, as we start to do more group work and work with different facilitators, our field is opening. So what you need to be really, really careful of is how you are managing your own energy fields in these group settings. So for me, for example, every single setting that I do, I go in early, I grid the space, I call in everyone's higher self, their guides, their team. So every single person is gridded into their own energy field, because what I'm seeing massively happen around all different ways of healing through Reiki, through Kundalini, through breath work, through all of the different healing modalities that are super powerful. As release work starts to happen, if your vibration is low, you are susceptible to picking up anything that is expanded or released out of someone else's field and comes into your own field. So what we need to be really careful of is if we're doing group sessions or we're going to places where maybe the facilitators aren't as strict as some other ones, as they start to release their wounds, their programming, their thought patterns, entities, whatever they may be that are controlling a certain part of their life. If you do not have a strong anchored energetic field, if you don't have a strong aura field, you are very, very likely to pick up some of that energy, which blends into your field. So the most important thing I always say is before you go into any group work, before you start working with someone, actually make sure that you have got protection in place. So by that, it is always calling on your higher self. Your higher self is always going to have your highest good. It is always going to be looking at your highest timeline and your strongest protection as well. So by being really discerning, it is by going in your intuition. How does this facilitate, make me feel? How do I feel in the space? How do I feel after the events? You know, I know for the events that I do, everyone walks out and they have had huge releases, but I actually control the energy moving outside of their body up into like a portal and up through the roof. So none of it is touching anybody else, because what I notice a lot is there is vulnerable people that come to these sessions that really do have a lot to release, but it's no benefit to the sitter, to the client, to anyone if you're releasing something and then you are bringing home something else. So I know for me, before I go into any sound bowl, before I go into any work with anyone that I don't normally work with, I really, really make sure that I've done my strong clearing. I'm making sure all of my aura is really tight to my body. It's thick, it's robust, it's not spread out all across the room. So it's about really honoring and understanding your energy. It's fine to feel flat if you're going in and your facilitator is really, really strong. So for me, I know that spiritual hygiene is massive in all of the teachings that I do. So Reiki 1 especially, and a lot of my mentoring packages, a huge percentage of it is spent on how to look after your energetic field. So not only your own personal field when you're out facilitating, but once you start to meditate, once you start to expand your field, expand your consciousness, then you start moving into higher realms. If you're going through and opening doors and not shutting them, all that's happening is the energy is just still moving around your system. So it is really important as you do the work, and again, a lot of my clients know, if we are opening things, we are making sure we're transmuting them, we are gifting it back to your team, and we are shutting down those doors. We are shutting down those portals. We are closing everything on the way back into our earth bodies. Because what happens again is it starts to get murky. If you are feeling after sound bowls or after a healing session and you have picked up more or you're feeling more anxiety afterwards, that is not a good sign. It is not a good sign to be able to almost have a worse environment to come back to than what you left with. So I'm watching it all over the place. I've noticed that a lot of spiritual people are coming out online and talking about how they're feeling really fed up with the spiritual world. They're turning their back on it. They've realized that it's really unhealthy. But actually, it's really, really healthy work. It's just that sometimes facilitators are doing 2 or 3 courses and then they are going into whole group spaces. Now, for me, I don't do any more than 20 people at one time because I physically can't grid 20 people into Gaia, into their own teams, managing all of their releasing their energy safely, reactivating, attuning their fields back into their highest purpose. Now, that takes a lot of work. And a few people have said to me lately, oh, just add more people into your session or do back-to-backs or do more. But for me, what is the most important part of it is actually understanding that each person that comes into my field, it is a blessing for me to be able to support them. It is an honor for me to be able to bridge the worlds between spirit and themselves. And I also know how incredibly protective I am of my own energy. So I put that back into all of the work that I do. But I guess it's going crazy everywhere that you look at the moment. There's different sort of workshops and there's different release work and expansion work and all of that sort of things. I'm not against it. I think it is lifting the consciousness of the planet. We are starting to become a beautiful, light, expanded, higher consciousness realm, and that is really, really exciting. There's going to be a lot of people that don't wake up, but majority are starting to really dip into their own intuition, their gut feels. It's starting from that and it's starting to build. I know with my clients, I never want my clients to be dependent on me. I think that is the worst thing that a healer can offer anyone. The goal is to be able to bridge you with your own team, your own consciousness, your own expansion, so that you can continue that journey and then that gets passed down the generations. If you step into facilitating roles, again, for me, I'm so particular about how I teach things, and I know any of the facilitators that I have learned from in the past are exactly the same, but it's almost like it's getting watered down. And sometimes I feel like the most important part of actually doing the healing and release work is understanding that things can transfer back into you that aren't yours. So it's great when we release, but we also have to be really, really clear that sometimes what is releasing out of someone else then sits into our energy field. So again, it's not saying don't do it. It's just being really, really discerning and listening to your gut and making sure that you're nice and physically, energetically strong before you walk into those environments. Also doing prayers or, calling in additional support and protection. I grid in everything that needs to happen so that the release is really, really safe for them, that they can come in fully expanded to release, but they can also move away without picking up anything else on the way. So again, if we are closing doors, if we are opening doors, if we are moving through things, if you are moving yourself into that area and just sitting in it, it is a really high chance of re-traumatizing yourself. It is a really high chance of re-traumatizing your nervous system. So in that one, you need to have a facilitator that is going to be able to transmute whatever you are trying to release, gift it back to wherever it needs to come from, and safely bring you back down. I'm watching, again, a lot of things starting to happen and a lot of support that I'm giving people that are moving into the healing space about how to properly be able to hold the space and touch edges that you don't think you can touch by taking these people up there. It's such a privilege and it is really, really deep work. And for me, it's taken me, I would say, a good 25 years to be able to do the work that I do safely. And that's why my clients are always better than when I left them. I think the worst thing we can do as someone that is in the wellness or healing space is leave someone worse than what we started with them. And I guess I'm seeing a lot more now in group facilitations over different healing modalities. People are re-traumatizing themselves and they're actually not doing any benefit to themselves. If anything, they're actually starting to move backwards. They're starting to dysregulate their nervous system. That's why there becomes almost this circular hook around the spirituality. So either some people people get addicted because they're really addicted to the feeling, but the healer's actually not bridging the world so they can learn to do it themselves. So they become dependent on the healer, which is never the goal. The goal is always to awaken people and allow people to use their own gifts to be able to move through their own life. Anyone that is trying to make you dependent, it is never a good sign. The beautiful thing is about gifting this awareness, gifting this consciousness, bridging the world between spirit and themselves so they can expand their field and they can talk to them. Everybody has the ability to use these gifts. Some people will have more ability. For me, I've honed my craft. I work with everyone upstairs. I like to say I'm very, very spiritually curious, and I have been for the last 20 years. So maybe my gifts are a little bit more refined, but everybody has the ability to use this higher consciousness to align their life, to start doing things that make sense in our humanness, but we are never trying to bypass our human experience. So I think that's the most important thing to do. Spirituality or healing can become really addictive because of the state that we get in. But what we actually have to do is we have to undo that addiction to the feeling and bring that into our humanness. Some of the most spiritually gifted people I know are not living their human experience. And I know for a fact that when you get to the end of that life and you are looking at what you have created, you will regret it, because the biggest expansion for our soul is to actually fully love, to be deeply connected, to ensure that we have our full love stories, that our friends are so deep, that we're connected to source, to Gaia, to our purpose, to our children, to each other. And it's about really having like a rounded experience of balancing your purpose, your spirituality, and your humanness. We cannot out-heal ourselves. We never ascend to a point of just energy. So we've got to honor the two worlds really, really deeply to make sure that we're not highly spiritual, but then showing up really badly for our children. Or we're not highly spiritual, but actually not connected with anyone. We're really disconnected from our families or our friends. So it's a real beautiful pendulum where we have to be able to swing between the two really, really safely, anchor ourselves, bring ourselves back into Gaia, anchor ourselves back in. Meat's a really good one. Sex is a really good one. It brings you really deeply back into your body. Then you can come back again. You can start channeling, you can start expanding your field. But if you're constantly in a higher state, which I have done many times myself, because I do agree, it's really, really addictive. When you are up there doing the healing and you are transforming your life and integrating your shadows, and you then show up this way in the world, it becomes really, really addictive. But you have to bring yourself down. You have to anchor yourself. You can tip yourself really, really easily into a state of psychosis. If you are rising your kundalini and you are rising your expansion so quickly without grounding yourself, it almost becomes a little bit like it's kind of one kind of cancels out the other. So it's really, really important to be able to honor the two parts of our human experience, which is our awakening and our spiritual gifts, but also our humanness as well. Another one that is really, really beautiful alongside the spiritual hygiene is chakra cleansing. So again, for this one, this is something that I do to myself all of the time, and I work with all of my clients. Before I work with any client, I will clear their chakra field. So I will move from their earth chakra all the way to the top of their crown. So in that, I will start to see where any blockages are. I will start to see where things are getting stuck, where the programming is, what chakras are closed, which are spinning, which are not spinning, which are covered in miasma or emotions. And I'll start to release those. So that's a really beautiful one to be able to do every single day, or you should be doing an orbit cleanse every single day, where you're anchoring in your field, you are bringing that energy through Gaia, you are cleaning your own energy field, breathing it in and out the mouth, just to be able to release all of that density. As human beings, especially females, we've got like 32 emotions. I think males have 7. So we feel a lot more. So it is really, really important to not allow those emotions to continue to build up. So for me, I'm always cleansing, I'm doing rage releasing, I'm moving through these emotions. I am starting to sit with different parts of myself. If I'm not feeling creativity, or I'm not feeling sensual, or I'm not feeling nurturing, I will know straight away to go to my womb. I'm like, cool, my sacral is closed. What is going on down there? Generally, I'll go back in, and it may be, any sort of wound can be in there, but generally that is attached to safety or your inner child as well. So it's about going back in, If your heart's feeling really closed, you're feeling anxious, things are starting to, pop really hard in your chest, then you will know, okay, my heart chakra is under some pressure at the moment. So that is unconditional love for self, for the planet, for others, and then having that love reciprocated back into you. If I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling disconnected, I know to go straight into my heart. So again, remember, your body is always giving you signs. Your intuition is always nudging you to your own personal healing as well, to make sure that your energetic field is as good as your external field. Sometimes I see people with their clean water, their no sugar, their, hectic 5 a.m. wake up call in a sauna every day, but then their chakras are all closed and full of emotion. So it's really important to honor your physical body and also your spiritual energetic field at the same time. So again, you cannot have one without the other. So you have to integrate that beautiful wellness also alongside with the energetic work. They both go side and side. For me, I never expected that I would stop drinking. I would only use natural products on my skin, that I would eat organic. But at the end of the day, I realized that my energetic field was so beautifully clear. Then I was loading my body with with dirty food, dirty water, really inflammatory food. So then that would start to build up around my chakras. So then that starts to close them and block them and create issues anyways. For everything that you do, grounding allows us to expand through good food, through a lot of vegetables, through low toxins, through low chemicals. I audit my life all of the time, and I start to look at parts that I'm like, oh, okay, that's not working. So be really crystal clear on what your energetic and your health plans looks like at the same time. So another beautiful one, which is a really important one that I'm noticing at the moment. So when we move through emotions like depression, that is literally our mind, our chemicals telling us we are so deeply out of alignment. So for this one here, I think it is the most beautiful nudge from the universe, from your body and from your mind to change your life. So if you are in a state of depression, or you are starting to feel really flat all the time, you don't have motivation, you're struggling to connect with people, that is a sure sign that you are out of. So in that one there, this is the bravest thing you can do in there. You can either sit on it and feel sad and medicate and start to be like, this is who I am, and then you strengthen that story. And again, I'm not dismissing that story because it is an incredibly difficult one. For me, I've lost a lot of people to suicide, so I understand that deep alignment shift can be really, really damaging, and it's really, really hard to step out of it when you're in the thick of it. But what I always say, if you're feeling depressed, if you are feeling those nudges, it is about really looking at your lifestyle, the people that are in your lifestyle, what your purpose is. You are so deeply far from your purpose when you're depressed that it is literally kind of almost separating from your soul. So your soul is like almost in mourning, essentially, because you're so far from where you're meant to be in this earth journey. So the really important one through there is to make sure that you are really auditing your life in that time. I still think the most important thing you can do is talk to your healthcare professionals, talk to psychologists, talk to therapists, whatever you need to do, but also understanding alongside that even if it's just those small feelings, that is out of alignment. For me, I physically feel all of the feelings when I'm out of alignment. I almost have this running joke with everybody that knows me that as I sort of step forward, the next move is always there. My life is so deeply in alignment due to as far as, something happening, something dropping in. Oh, there's 2 tables left. Oh, your car's there. This is it. Here, you need to go on holiday. Here's $5,000. I'm talking to the point where my life is so deeply in alignment because I've done so much work to become my full expression of my life time that I was here to live, where I reincarnated in this life. So it's about really, really understanding that the universe will always co-create with you. It is always going to bring forward your highest timeline if you are on the right path. People hold so tightly to the door that is trying to shut, whether it be a relationship, whether it be work, whether it be a purpose that you thought was 100% yours. Do not force those doors open. You are only leaking energy and staying longer off the path that you're meant to do. It is about stepping back from that, allowing that door to close and saying, I'm so deeply grateful for the universe for this level of protection. So this is really important to not hold on, allow flow to happen. I think what happens in terms of the money mindset, abundance, highest timelines, all of those things. We create these stories from our programming, from our wounds, and from our nervous system, and then we hold on to them. This is who we are. This is exactly what we came to do. But actually, our soul mostly out-levels them. And I can say for myself, just in terms of relationships, I was holding on so deeply to what I thought was meant for me. And actually, I was just delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. So then I made the decision to switch into fully owning my full authentic self, so that when my person came forward, they saw me for the whole version. I didn't have to mask. I didn't have to waste energy for it. So as soon as I was deeply in my full alignment, doesn't mean you have to be fully healed, but when I was deeply in my own alignment, I was at my full authentic expression of my soul, of my personality, of who I came to be. I unlearned everything that I was told I should be, and I became myself. That is when my friendships all dropped in. That is when relationships dropped in. That is when everything starts to make sense and it becomes easy. Life is easy, and I know I've had so many moments where I've gone upstairs, I've cried, I've wailed, I've yelled at my team, I've yelled at my family that have passed, I've yelled at myself, my inner child, all parts of me, saying, why, sitting back in that victim state of like, they're not doing this for me. And I kept anchoring in, keep becoming more yourself, keep loving yourself more, keep honoring exactly who you are, show up the way that you actually intend or your soul came here to be. And the more I did that, the life got easier, life came alignment, abundance flowed in, relationships bloomed, everything started to move in the direction that it was meant to. But I know how hard it is when you're in those moments and you have to make those decisions, and then you have to keep on that path. I'd already closed about 8 identities. I'd closed so many friendships, relationships, things that I thought were going to be forever. I had to lovingly release those and keep moving forward. In between that, you have those levels of solitude, and they are the most brutal part of your healing, because the silence is deafening. You are literally facing your shadows. You're facing yourself. You're facing your loneliness. You're facing the thought that no one loves you, that, you know, abundance doesn't flow to you. So you sit in that story more and more. But if you keep putting in the work, you keep loving yourself, you keep honoring your full authentic expression, the people can find you, because the longer we wear masks, the longer it takes to find us. So it's really, really important to make sure that you unlearn everything that everyone told you to be, because I can tell you at the other end of it, it feels so good. And everyone always says, why are you so happy? Why are you glowing? Why is your life like this? I'm not special. I'm not working harder than anyone else. I'm not doing anything that, well, I am doing something different, but I'm not doing the things that I thought I needed to do. I'm not working harder. Some people say it's easier for you. It was never easy for me. It was actually the hardest, because I was given more lessons over the last 5 years than most people would probably see in their lifetime. But because I chose to look at those lessons from a lens of healing and knowing that there was illuminating a part of me that needed to be healed, so I would turn that mirror around. Instead of holding resentment against anyone that betrayed me, anyone that went against me, I would turn that mirror around and go, what part of me still needs to be healed? What part of me did I think that I healed that hasn't actually healed? So it took the whole sting out of betrayal. It took the whole sting out of your trust being broken. So all of a sudden you would see where people were in your life, how they showed up, what they were here to teach you, and then you would let them go. Because once we hold on to those things, we start to kind of lose ourselves in the story. Our vibration drops. We sit in victim. Then it just becomes part of us. Oh, we're just poor. Oh, love's never going to find me. Oh, there's no one decent in Christchurch. Oh, my man's over here. Oh, I've heard every single story, mainly because a lot of them were my own stories. I can't even say how many times I was like, oh no, that's not here. That doesn't work for me because I came from not having any money. It's so many parts of it. So it's about just lovingly releasing those stories, allowing those things to just move through you and go, cool, what can I learn from this? What lessons do I need to sit with here and understand that it is always about you? It is never about anyone else. It is always a reflection of the parts. And you're going to get more lessons when you are not honoring your soul or you're not standing into your full authentic self. So it is your soul continuing to push your evolution so that life becomes easy. But so many people fall off in that middle part. And I nearly did a few times. So I totally get it. But it is just about honoring and keep moving forward even when you feel things aren't moving, even when things that you thought were meant for you are taken away, even when you create something that you're adamant that this is going to be it. Let it move through, because what is coming is so much better. It is so much more aligned, and the more healing you do, you're going to outgrow people. So again, even for me, for my psychic abilities and my clairvoyance, I will tell people a certain amount what is on their path. You do not want to live in the future. You cannot bypass your human experience. Even for me, I will say to my team, I don't want to know. I don't want to see that. I'm not interested. Knowing the future, so you have to make sure, if you are doing the clairvoyant work, it has guided me massively on my journey, and I love it so deeply because it's allowed me to move and collapse timelines a lot quicker. However, there's certain things that I don't want to know. There's certain things that I want to experience. There's certain emotions that I want to move through. You cannot bypass your lessons to become the next version of you, because you actually need to embody it. You need to move through it. You need to touch edges that you didn't think existed, so that you can hold space not only for yourself, but for the people or the abundance or the business that you're calling in as well. So there's so many deep levels in that solitude, but that is the most beautiful healing stage. So please sit in it a little bit longer. Understand that we all wobble. We all think it's easier to go back. And you know what? A lot of people do. A lot of people will go back to the corporate. A lot of people will go back to the older version of themselves, because it is brutal. Sometimes you are like, I can't look at this anymore. But you just have to keep moving, because then the alignment starts to happen. And you see it with a lot of people that have done a lot of deep work. Doesn't mean we're any better. It just means that life becomes a lot easier because we look at it from a completely different lens, and we know how to shift our frequency. We are all frequency. We bring in frequency. So if you're at a high, deep frequency who views the world in a certain way, you're going to bring that same person into you. If you are, in a deep abundant state where you are here in service and you're wanting to change the world, the abundance will lovingly and easily flow through you. It's our own stories that we don't have enough. We can't start it. We can't do this. We can't invest in this. So it's about releasing those stories and allowing that energy to keep moving, keep lifting. Then that frequency get higher. Then abundance just flows in a lot more easily. So we are all frequency. So just making sure that we stay in that higher frequency, especially when times get tough. I would recommend in that time putting on an alarm a couple of times a day, closing down your field, closing down your eyes, and visualizing that life. Visualizing what that soulmate is, visualizing what it feels like to be abundant, visualizing what that business looks like, what those friendships look like. My circle is small, don't get me wrong, but the people around me are so deep. I feel so safe in my life with the people that are in my life at the moment. And I've had to say a lot of goodbyes, but that deep safety that I have in my life at the moment, I can't even explain what that feels like, because I never had it before. So it's about really just being crystal clear. We're moving into a really potent energy over the next 12 days. We've got new moon tonight. We've got Lionsgate on the 8th of the 8th. And then we've got new moon on the 12th. So that is one of the most potent, strong magnets that you will ever sit in. This portal is literally bringing in your manifestations to its highest timeline. So do not give yourself a glass ceiling. If you're sitting there thinking small, it will bring you small. If you are breaking down every barrier, every part of your programming that says you're not doing enough, or you're too small, or it's not going to happen, it's the wrong way to go. Think bigger. Set those visualizations up until the 12th and be like, cool, what am I bringing in? How do I feel? For me, my last one was a feeling, because I had created the abundance. I'd healed my relationship with money. So I was like, I want to feel safe. I want to feel seen. I want to feel all of these sorts of things. So I brought that in, and now that is what's in my life. So please don't ever underestimate the effort or the strength of manifestation, but you can't manifest from lack. So you have to understand how to visualize your way out of it, and that is by feeling the emotion, by sitting with the emotion, understanding the emotion. What does this make me feel like to be seen? What does this bring into my heart space when I'm seen and loved and safe? What does calmness feel like? What does it feel like to be my full self and be loved for it anyway, even the bad parts that I dislike about myself? But then having my friends and the people in my life being like, I love that part of you. You know, that is honestly one of the most healing parts of my whole entire journey. And it's only become in, you know, the last period of my life where I've been able to call that in. But what I did is I manifested it. I sat with it. I allowed those things to move into my field. I allowed myself to feel what that would feel like. So then when I called it in, I already knew I was already a match for the frequency of the people that were coming in. I couldn't manifest it and stay the same version of me because I couldn't have the depth that these people deserve in a relationship or in a friendship as well, or a business or a client. So that's a really important one over the next few days, to really make sure that you are so crystal clear. I mean, I'm not a big fan of vision boards or vanilla scales, all those sorts of things. I'm a big fan of feeling. So setting that alarm, setting that music, something high emotive that will shift that field. And you will feel as those 12 days go on up until that new moon, you'll be like, oh, that feels good. Then you start emulating that frequency. Then all of a sudden we start mirroring our reality. We start bringing in people that see us. We start becoming more silly. I'm like the worst ADHD I've ever been, because I'm actually safe to stop guarding myself and protecting myself and, you know, putting on all these masks every single day. So then I would get to the end of the night and I would be absolutely exhausted. Now I get home and I'm like happy and I'm lighter and I'm just not as tired or drained because I don't have to perform anymore, because I found the people that love me for the exact version that I am. So overall, really making sure that in the spiritual hygiene journey, you are clearing your own field, you are discerning at your workshops, you are making sure your facilitators are strong, they are gritting you in, they are anchored, they are embodied themselves, they are doing the work, they have the experience behind them, how to hold space one-on-one clients, how to hold space in a workshop. They should be building those things up, making sure that your own energy field, setting a prayer or intention of protection before you go into any space where people are releasing or the spirit. Always make sure you're protecting yourself. It's something that you would do by locking your doors at home, by locking your car when you go out, by putting your bag away when you are out. You're not just going to leave everything open and out, because you put yourself at risk. So spiritually, it is the same thing. You need to make sure that you are deeply, deeply protected in your own energy field. Your facilitator is very, very good at gritting and anchoring and protecting your own energy, and has a lot of experience doing release work, opening and closing your chakras. So again, really understanding that two parts of your energetic field. Your chakras should be clear, they should be cleansed, you should be moving through those on a daily basis to be able to keep them nice and clean, and then allowing your body to be nourished and hydrated and really giving it the goods, really cutting out the chemicals. Things like Botox cloud up your third eye. So for example, you will calcify your third eye if you are doing any work around your forehead, around your third eye, up around your crown as well. So that is literally freezing parts of your energetic field where things are moving around. There's different things that we are doing to our body at the moment in terms of inflammation and deep chemicals that are starting to impact how we channel, how we clear our field. So being really discerning about what goes into your body, how you're drinking it, blessing your water, really staying in like that high frequency so that the vessel of your body and also your energetic fields are really, really strong. So anyway, I will leave you with that today. I think it's a really beautiful thing that there is more group work happening. I think that is one of the most important things that we can offer each other in our community. I always feel the group work I do is one of the deepest community events of women holding space for each other and being seen. So it is in no way saying that these events are not good. They are the most powerful, beautiful, expansive thing that I think anyone can do. But it is about being really, really discerning about your own energetic field. And as things are releasing, making sure that your facilitator has got you really, really safe. I've seen so many people come to me lately who have been to sessions or been to group things, and they have picked up things. They're feeling worse. They have fear that they didn't have before, that they're feeling anxiety that they didn't have. All of a sudden, they've got these fears of their children, all these things. So if you pick those up, just understand that you have picked up someone else's fear programming as they've released it. Your field has not been strong enough, or your facilitator hasn't been strong enough to bring it in. Again, this podcast is a beautiful extension of the work that I do and the things that I see. It is just giving language to the things that we are moving through on a daily basis. Mine is just from lived experience. It doesn't mean it's always right, but I always love to share what I see, what I observe through the communities that I'm in, because I think it's really important for us all to honor each other and support each other, but also making sure that ourself and our energetic fields are really, really safe. So I will see you next time. Thank you for listening. Bye.